Well, hi everyone. I'm Andy Asher. I'm editor of Bloomer Boomer. Now, for the baby boomer generation, there are some seminal moments that help define who we are and the influences on our lives, whether it was a protest at a college campus, some violent political causes, music festivals on the West Coast, the Altamont Festival, of course, remembered for some serious violence there, and on the East Coast, the Woodstock Music and Art Fair, simply called Woodstock. Well, when I heard about Ann Voorhees Baker, who launched an annual event with the Woodstock namesake, it brought back lots of memories. She is our guest today, along with the story behind Women at Woodstock, and we'll talk to Ann Voorhees Baker in just a moment. Now, this is part of the Plus 55 Good Life movement, a project of the bloomerboomer.com publication, where we bring stories and ideas from authors, thought leaders, and inspirational people. It's a movement for new and evolving things that make for a plus 55 good life. And the shows are about what's working and what's not and how to make the best of it. And in the end, hopefully, something you can take away for yourself. Now, our guests are idea and thought leaders, experts, people with life experiences to emulate, folks with a unique expertise, or those that give us one of those aha moments or a revelation that can suddenly transform the complex and the bewildering into the understandable. And among those is our guest today, Ann Voorhees Baker. She's founder and producer of Women at Woodstock, an annual gathering for women over 50 in Woodstock, New York, now in its 6th year. We'll be back with Ann Voorhees Baker right after this. Ann Voorhees Baker is the founder and producer of Women at Woodstock, an annual gathering of women over 50 in Woodstock, New York, now in its 6th year. And she says Women at Woodstock started out as a passion project in 2012 and has created such a loyal following that it keeps on going year after year. Well, Ann, thank you for joining us. Got to hear the background, because I'm sure that there must have been one of those, like you say, a passion about creating this. Tell us a little bit about how that evolved.
Okay, thanks for having me here, Andy. And
absolutely.
Yes, the story goes way back, actually, to my 50th birthday. Before I ever thought of having something like Women at Woodstock, I was about to turn the corner on a big age threshold, and at the time I was also going through a divorce, so I knew that year was not going to be a year when there was going to be a big party, surrounding me, too many things going on a negative wavelength. So I decided to celebrate my birthday, I would rent a cabin in the woods and invite my girlfriends to come with me for the weekend. And so about 15 of us gathered there. These were women who had been friends for 15, 20 years. We'd raised our children together. We had celebrated all of our holidays together because all of us did not have family nearby. So we knew each other really well. And we went there, we just hiked, we hung out in the hot tub, we made meals together, watched old movies together. It was a great time. But on the last night, I decided to pass around a basket of questions that I had written. Things like, I should be dead because, and some story, all of us have a story from our past that follows from that phrase.
That's what right.
And other questions like what I always wanted to do with my life, or what I'm proudest of in my life, or my biggest regret, all kinds of things like that. And as we were around the table, it was amazing. Something happened that I did not expect, which was women revealed things about themselves that they had never shared before. I learned so much about some of my friends that just hadn't been in my picture of her up until that point. And one woman, for example, started talking about her early career as a painter, and how she'd given that up when she had children. Another woman talked about some things that surrounded the child who was born with some medical problems. Another talked about a very scary incident from earlier in her life. And one woman said she's been looking for a job for a while and just hadn't made any headway, and I actually didn't know. So things happened after that. Some of the women actually sort of discovered some things about themselves as they were. The painter, for example, after that weekend, went back and set up a little studio in her garage for herself and started painting again. And the woman who was looking for a job got help from a couple of the other women and ended up landing a position a couple weeks later. So it was sort of a transforming kind of experience. And I think the beauty of it was that each person knew that she would have the floor for a certain period of time where the whole group would listen to her, whatever story she wanted to tell. And they would, put their input or at least share sympathy or compassion or whatever. It was very, very moving. So after that year, about 5 years later, I moved out of where I had been living all the way across the country to the West Coast and found that I really wasn't making a group of friends, close-knit group of friends like what I had left. And of course, that's no surprise when you're in your early 50s. You're no longer a parent at school, or I work at home, so I wasn't going to an office, and I just wasn't meeting that many people. And I decided I was kind of lonely. And yet I had clients from all over the country. I do web design and freelance writing, ghostwriting. So these clients I was friendly with, they were mostly women over 50. And I started talking about how I wish I could have a gathering like what I'd had before, but maybe with a little more structure, some workshops and things like that. And the women I talked to said, that sounds like a great idea. If you do that, I will come. So that's when I decided, literally on a whim, to go ahead and call it Women at Woodstock. I built a website for it, and I promoted it online. I didn't advertise it. I just promoted it in kind of an organic way. And the first one happened in October of 2012, and it was wonderful, and it's been going ever since.
What a great story. Now, I sense then that it's a chance to get together and also an opportunity to have a specific focus. And in this case, it's writing, so you probably tie the two together and get a little bit of both out of the days that you're there.
Well, actually, I do have two events now. So there's one long weekend that is a series of workshops and a big mastermind session and a lot of networking and eating good food, drinking good wine. And then the second long weekend is a writer's retreat for those who really want to write or are in the process of writing.
So you have one coming up. Which one is that?
Yeah, the Women at Woodstock workshop weekend is October 12th to 16th.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and then the writer's retreat is October 19th to 23rd. And they're both in the same location, but they're two different weekends, two different events.
Very neat. So what is it about the environment there, do you think, that has that kind of nurturing effect? It must be something that you've built into it.
It really is true. The Catskills is absolutely gorgeous all the time, but especially in October when all the leaves are turning. I think having it at Woodstock or near Woodstock, we're just outside of Woodstock where we meet at Lifebridge Sanctuary, it just kind of resonates with our generation. As you talked about when you first opened this show, it just says something to us. Woodstock is kind of in our DNA, and when we think about what we were like and what we were feeling and thinking at the time that Woodstock happened, whether we actually attended or not, we kind of reconnect with the dreams that we had way back when and that feeling of when you're on the cusp of your whole life ahead of you. And that's kind of similar to how we feel as we, sort of turn the corner past 50 and find that maybe we're winding down a career or we're not working so hard to build it up as we were. Maybe our children are leaving home and college or onward. And our whole life is opening up yet again. And it's a really good time to revisit who you are what you are, what you want to do with your life, and what better place to do it than this beautiful setting in the woods. We have a beautiful lodge all to ourselves, and a caterer, and we just can get away and be at this kind of iconic location and reconnect with our inner core, so to speak. It's the perfect setting, the perfect time of year.
Now, something that we do at Bloomer Boomer is we focus on the second chapter, you might say, the second half of life and that sort of thing. What kind of revelations, if I can use, maybe that's too strong a word, do some of the people have? You probably have some interesting stories.
Yeah, after 6 years at this, we have some great stories. There's a woman who came several years in a row. She is an actress. I guess you call her a character actor. She's been in Law and Order and Blue Bloods and shows like that. And, was making a living, was quite successful, but she always wanted to be a screenwriter, and she kept talking about it and talking about it. And the women that she met kept in touch with her and kept encouraging her, and she finally decided, I am just going to go for it. So she left New York City. She went to Chapman Film School, and she just now graduated and is now a screenwriter starting her new career, it's just amazing because it seemed like just a little wish when she first came to Women at Woodstock, and it became reality.
How neat. That's really a fantastic story. So, it's kind of getting late, close to the event itself, but if someone wants to learn more about it, how do they go about doing that?
It's very simple. You just come to the website, which is womenatwoodstock.com. It's not Women of Woodstock, it's womenatwoodstock.com. And when you get there, you'll see the top menu has one tab for the workshop weekend and one tab for the writers weekend. And you can find out who's speaking there, what workshops we're having, what the tracks are available at the writers retreat that you can choose from, the dates, pictures of the location, testimonials from women who've been before, and of course you can register on site too.
Well, that is really neat. Anne, thanks so much. It sounds great, and I wish you to have a fantastic event.
Thank you so much. We will.
That's, again, Anne Voorhees Baker, the founder and producer of Women at Woodstock. We'll be right back. Well, I hope you liked the show and learned a thing or two. The full show will be available on YouTube and at Bloomer Boomer. The audio version will be available on Apple Podcasts, at iTunes, and we have other shows coming up with some amazing guests. Please like us on Facebook and visit us at bloomerboomer.com. So long.